This segment of Naperville Sports Weekly is brought to you by the Daily Herald.
I'm here with head coach Kristen Mansmith of Metea Valley Bowling. Thank you for joining me today, Coach.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
You're in your first year as the head coach at Metea Valley. How's the experience been thus far? Still early on in the season.
It's been great. I've been really lucky that I have been the assistant to two other coaches from the start of the program. So the adjustment piece of it is pretty easy as far as knowing the girls. I, as the assistant coach, have had every girl that's ever been on Metea Valley's team. So from that perspective, that hasn't been real difficult. With the addition of both Greg Zika and AJ Johnson, it's just working on that dynamic. And then I think probably the biggest change is working on the dynamic of the girls, simply because only two of them are returning varsity players, or three of them, and only two of them have any kind of long-term experience on varsity. So just learning how to adjust their personalities and letting them learn how to work off of each other, that's new for us.
I'm sure there's a lot of things that go into that as well, getting your seniors to help out the younger girls, having three coaches, and we did the story on AJ Johnson earlier, having that professional element as well. It sounds like you've got a lot of different things coming in to kind of teach the younger girls on this team. How has that been, perhaps it can probably be a lot of information for some of the younger, less experienced bowlers, but I'm sure you've seen a good number of growth so far as well.
Absolutely. I think our theme this entire year from start to finish, we knew we would have a lot of growth. We knew we would need a lot of growth. And I think between AJ and Greg and I, we've all said the same thing. Focus on good shots. Focus on making good shots. Focus on your technique. Focus on your release. Focus on those types of things versus the score. And the rest will come into play. The rest will fall into place. And I think that's exactly what we have seen. We have seen an upward trend throughout the entire season. If you saw us at the beginning of the season in our first match and into our first tournament, it was some difficult moments of growth, of transition, of trying to figure out how do we make this happen for ourselves, and them overcoming and being resilient. So the reality is they have just continued to just do an upward climb, and their scores continue to climb because their focus has changed from making a score to more of, I need to make a good shot. And if I make a good shot, everything else will fall into place.
And I talked to Alexis a little bit about the process of the tryout process and kind of the wide range of skills that this team has. How big is that range, going from the JV to the varsity side? I'm sure you have some very experienced bowlers and then some who kind of came in and just kind of wanted to give bowling a try.
Absolutely. We have a couple of newer girls. One of them had to stop for the season, but at the same time was a great addition, great enthusiasm. I have a brand new freshman who said, hey, I want to try this. And I said, let's go. And went full in. Parents were willing to support her, bought her a bowling ball, bought her shoes, bought her a bag, and said, let's go, let's learn. And so from that standpoint, they make a huge effort to continue to make this their sport. I have a sophomore this year and a junior who only started bowling last year, and at the end of the season ended with 80, 90, 100 averages, versus right now Sam, who is only a sophomore and has only been bowling for 1 year, her highest game last week, threw a 172 and then turned around the next day and threw a 173. So again, it's that upward trend. Watching Isabella Newinkirchen turn around, and again, as a JV roller last year, and then coming this year knowing she was going to be on varsity, and just taking it every day, the commitment and the resilience of fighting through. One bad shot, one good shot, I have to make a 10-pin. Just that drive and the determination that they are showing is pretty incredible. One of my top bowlers, two of my top bowlers, Alexis Sutherland and Gianna Mikulak, both of them, the drive and the determination are just constant. Gianna has a focus. She really takes after and I think has role modeled and looked at Jordan Noam as a role model, and she has really taken that same focus and put it into her game. And we call her AP. AP just continues to do the same kind of things. When she's not happy with the shot, she continues to move forward. I look at Alexis Dow, who had a rough start this season. Just kind of was coming in the same as she was last year. But again, in the past couple weeks has just every single match elevated her game. Next thing you know, elevated her game. Worked on technique, worked on things. So the reality is, I think each one of them, even though they're all bowling at different levels, just have the same end goal in mind, and that's to improve. And I think our goal is to more be college ready than to worry about anything else. Our goal is to open up scholarship money for them. We want to see them have opportunities to bowl in college, if that's what they want to do. And I think that ultimately starts with fundamentals.
Speaking with Alexis, it sounds like the team is always there, kind of adding on to what you were saying with Jordan at State, that you want the team there, keep them up after a bad roll or kind of keeping them engaged throughout. But do you ever find it difficult with 3 full games to keep girls engaged and, watching throughout?
It's even harder when it's 6 full games and they're in a tournament situation. Yeah. For sure. Especially if your momentum falls, if you're not striking, if you're having trouble picking up spares. It absolutely is. I think we've gotten really good at story time. I think we've gotten really good at coming up with things to talk about, literally going through a checklist of what could we possibly talk about today to kind of get their minds off of the moment.
Effective distractions, essentially.
Exactly. It's exactly it. We used to joke, Rich Carrick and Lanai last year used to joke, and I'd say to him, do you have your stories ready? Because that's exactly what we would do, is we would just start telling funny stories, things from when we were in high school, things from when we were in college, all appropriate, of course. But needless to say, things that they would relate to as teenagers. Sometimes you'll even talk about academic things that they're talking about in school, and be like, what did you think of this? Or what did you think of that? And so just to kind of keep them from focusing on that one bad thing that didn't go their way. And so that usually tends to work. Each one of them has their own coping strategies, whether it's a stress ball, whether it's chewing gum, whether it's they go back to their water bottle and take a sip and take a deep breath. Sometimes it's truthfully a high five or a hug from another one of them, to be quite honest. And just that little pep me up of, you can do this, we've got this. And again, the success naturally comes when they're relaxed. And so from that standpoint, it has its challenges at times. There have been some tears, but they're girls, and that kind of goes with the territory anyway. But they really are resilient, and I think that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of them for, is they have not given up yet. Even when the score hasn't been what they've wanted, they just continue to fight for everything. A couple weeks back, they turned around in a tournament setting, and 1 minute they threw a 777 or an 800. Next thing you knew, they threw a 1025. It was the first time this season they had hit 1,000. And the smiles from both them and the parents, and we all just were kind of looking at each other like, yes, we finally got it. And we knew it was there. It was just a matter of them working together to believe that they could do it, and it was a pretty awesome moment.
Would you say that's one of your proudest moments as your first season as a head coach, is seeing that turnaround between those 2 games?
I actually can't say that's my proudest moment. I think that was a fun moment. Yeah. I think my proudest moments have more to do with their character. I was proud of them, extremely proud of them, in one of our very first matches this year, when another parent from an opposing team came up to me and said to me, you have the nicest girls. They don't only cheer for themselves, but they cheer for us. They cheer for the other team. They high-five the other team. And that, to me, is way more valuable than anything they would throw on a scoreboard. And I think the other moment was when they worked with Oswego East and were willing to participate in their Strikeout for Cancer. These are benevolent kids. They have benevolent parents. They are very concerned about taking care of other people and being polite and being kind. And I think from that standpoint, what coach wouldn't want their team, or wouldn't one be able to say, that's what you're most proud of? And I think for me, that's what it is. They care about each other. These kids get on and off a bus every single day, and every single day they literally help each other take balls and bowling ball equipment off and on that bus, and it rotates. One day one's at the bottom and another one's up at the top. They never just leave themselves to, fend for yourself. It's never like that. And so from that standpoint, I absolutely love that. The other thing that I'm really super proud of is that I have a boy this year. I have a boy competing in the boys state tournament and who has acted as a team manager this entire year, comes to every single event that we've asked him to as a team manager, and then has just recently started practicing and getting ready for his regional state tournament. And my girls and he have just gotten along wonderfully. And they've embraced the fact that, hey, let's keep our sport going, whether it's with boys or whether it's with girls. So they've been willing to share us. And they didn't have to necessarily do that. So that's pretty awesome of them.
So it sounds like the things outside of the sport have gone very well from a coaching aspect for you. Getting back to kind of, I guess, a result-based thing, it's not all about results, but what are some things that you're hoping to see, whether as a whole or individually, some accomplishments from the team at the end of the season?
I think growth. I think the bottom line is we want to see them continue to move forward. I don't think any coach would sit in front of you and say that state's not their goal. It absolutely is. I don't think there's one person, one coach that wouldn't say that. You hope that within your regional you can get through. You hope within your sectional you'd be able to get through. And if you can't get your whole team through, then you absolutely hope that you can get a few of your individual girls through. So I think the bottom line is that would be our goal. We want to return to state again, whether it's with the team or whether it's with individuals. But it would always be team first, and then if that can't happen, then that would be the next goal, is to get a few girls through. I think that for most of us, high school athletics is such a positive experience for high school students, and to experience that level of competition prior to going away to college and finding a whole new level of competition is a pretty cool experience all the way around. And I know that the first time our team got through, it was emotional. It was pretty amazing for a school that's only 7 years old to get through on their 5th year. So I think that I want them to have that experience, and I would love for each of them to have that opportunity before they graduate. And so that would be a great time. We'd have a great time.
Well, whether it be as a team or as with an individual, we hope to see you later on this season at state, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it.